Hey my friend, welcome back to Simple Happy Zen. It's Vera and we are talking about self-love habits and ways to build self-love and self-confidence long-term. This video is a small two-part series where I share 20 self-love tips, and if you've missed part 1 then I will link it here. The order in which you watch the videos doesn't really matter, so you can watch it after this one is finished as well. I have gotten an amazing response from you guys in part 1, so thank you so much, and I'm so glad you guys seem to really like it. And the self-love tips I share in this series go a bit further than just having a self-care day or taking a bubble bath, because I think self-love is so important and we all deserve it, and I wanted to make a list of actual real ways that we can practice it and become our own best friend. So let's begin with the self-love habits for this video today. Alright, let's begin with an important one. So when we think about taking good care of ourselves, we usually think about our food, our nutrition, maybe drinking enough water, doing exercising, and while these are of course super important, there is one more form of consumption that I feel is just as important. And that is our mental consumption. Things like information, entertainment, social media, watching the news, seeing ads, all these types of stimuli that, just like with food, they enter our being and they have an impact on us. And I think self-love means that we have to be mindful of our mental consumption as well. When I started looking at it from this angle, I noticed just how much I was mentally consuming and also how much things were impacting me. And that was when I made the choice to limit the things that would make me feel stressed or sad or angry or scared. And I also noticed how things can have a positive impact on me. For example, I noticed that whenever I listen to my favorite band, which is Sigur Rós, my mood always improves no matter how I'm feeling. So when I wake up on the wrong side of the bed in the morning, sometimes, which happens to me as well, I just put on some Sigur Rós and it always helps me to feel better. Alright, number 12 is something that I learned from Yoga with Adriene, and it has been surprisingly nice. Rubbing your own feet or giving yourself a self-massage and just taking the time to thank your body. I've been doing this somewhat regularly for the last couple of years, and it has become a very nice self-care ritual. Now, before doing this, I never thought loving thoughts about my feet and it never occurred to me to thank them for all that they do for me. But when you think about it, our feet, they do so much for us. They hold us up all day, and also the extra added benefit of just doing something nice for yourself, being kind and loving to yourself, is very powerful. So rubbing your own feet or giving yourself a shoulder massage or neck massage and just taking the time to thank and honor your body will help you to practice self-love in a very practical way. The next self-love habit is about dealing with negative self-talk and that inner critic, and how to become kinder and more compassionate towards yourself. I think this topic probably deserves its own video. In fact, if you're interested in that, then just let me know in the comments and I can make a more in-depth video about this topic. But I think basically what helps the most is the simple realization that this inner critic is there somewhere inside us to help us out, only they're not always doing a very good job. And let me explain what I mean by this. So we've all had experiences in our childhood that, together with everything else, shaped us, and maybe consciously or subconsciously we've had experiences that formed this inner critic, and it is there to trying to keep us from getting hurt or dealing with any pain or any negative things. And even though this negative self-talk doesn't feel good on its own, it helps us to realize that that's why it's there. And with this realization comes another important realization, and that is that what we think about ourselves is not objective, and it is not exactly the reality. What we believe about ourselves is often not entirely true or not true at all. And when we realize this, we can do the following. So every time your inner critic is coming out and you're thinking negative self-thoughts, then it helps to just think, okay, it's here again, it's happening again, all right, and just acknowledge it and move past it. So don't get frustrated, don't get swept up in it, just acknowledge it and move on, and know that it's not true, it's not objective, and you can just let it go. And this has been super powerful for me, and this really helps. Next is figuring out your energy givers and making sure that you schedule plenty of time for them. So whatever gives you joy or energy or makes you feel happy, be sure to make enough time for it. And this is also a great journaling exercise where you make a list of things that cost you your energy and things that give you energy, because life gets filled up with all kinds of random things easily, and if we don't make sure that we make time for the things that lift us up, that recharge our battery, then we can never seem to do them enough. Number 15 can also be done as a journaling exercise, but you can also just keep a list on your phone, and that is to think of one thing a day that you like about yourself, just one thing, and it can be anything. You can do this continually or as a 30-day challenge. Think of one thing, and if you want, write it down. Keep that list for whenever you need it. Number 16 on the self-love habits list is to celebrate your flaws. And because if we're trying to build up self-love and self-esteem, we shouldn't only look at our gifts and our talents and the things we like about ourselves, because there's actually a lot more going on that altogether makes us who we are. So if we want to love ourselves, I think we should love all of ourselves, including your imperfections. It is totally okay, we all have them, no one is perfect, and I think it's just fine to celebrate your flaws and love them as well. Of course, I'm not saying that we shouldn't try and grow and change and evolve as people. We can totally still do that, but it can be from a place of self-love. So you could try making a list of your flaws or just thinking about them as you go along, but make sure to think lovingly about them, because they're all part of the total package that is you. And the next habit also works well with that, and that is to honor your body, especially your belly. I don't think there's any body part that does so much for us, but also gets so much of our hate and disappointment and insecurity, and that is just a shame. This area of our body does so much for us, but we treat it so poorly, especially with the summer coming up. And just taking the time to think about all the things that your stomach area is doing for you and for your health can really help you to see it in a more positive way and feel happier about it. And also just knowing that every body is different, and that is okay. We don't all look like skinny supermodels, and we don't have to. Your body is yours and it deserves some of your love and appreciation. Keep a done list instead of a to-do list, and this works especially well if you're one of those people who always feels like they're busy, but at the same time like they're not doing enough, like me. And I don't do it all the time, but every so often I keep a done list instead of a to-do list, and this helps me to focus on all the good and positive things that I'm doing. It makes me feel like I'm doing enough, I'm working hard enough, I'm accomplishing enough, and that is a nice feeling. Self-love habit number 19, surround yourself with people who make you feel good. And this is another very practical thing that you can do for yourself out of self-love. You can make a choice to be around people who add to your happiness. And of course, if you've got a friend who's going through a hard time, this doesn't mean that you should cut them out. You can still be there for them. But if you've got people in your life who make you feel worse most of the time, then it might be a good idea to be around them less. Lastly, practice being able to laugh at yourself and not take everything so seriously. In the end, we're all just here trying our best. We screw up from time to time and we learn from it. It's not all that important. When we learn to laugh it off if we make a mistake, we can start to see life in a more light, easy breezy way that adds to our positivity. And I think humor can be one of your best tools in life. If you can find humor in a difficult situation, it instantly becomes easier to handle.